Hi, my name is Jennifer Reis, and I live in Lenox, Massachusetts, but originally I'm from Canada. And actually, in Canada, I grew up very close to an Indian reservation. And it was very interesting when I moved here to this area 18 years ago. I was very curious as to why I wasn't seeing any Indigenous people. There was no Native Americans around that I could see. And so that got me really curious and interested many moons ago, and I began to make some art to explore who the first people of this area were. And but that was a long time ago, and now since that time, I've been teaching yoga here in Lenox in Acropolis Center for 18 years, and really loving it, and also traveling around and teaching quite a bit as well, Divine Sleep Yoga Nidra, and I've created something called Five Element Yoga, which incorporates Chinese medicine and yoga and love of earth and nature. Um, and so here I am. So I was really interested to find out who the first people of the area were, and so I was making these beautiful large wind dresses. They were like wind socks that would blow in the wind, and I invited all the ancestors and the first people from this area to blow through and express themselves as a form of movement and dance. I really love dance and yoga, so I was thinking, yeah, those people probably want to express, or the spirits and those beings want to express. So it was a way, a kind of a ceremony in a way for them to express themselves, and I really wanted to hear. I wanted to know and to see and to feel who those people were. So I got it pretty clearly right away. The wind was magical, and those dresses were really dancing. And I guess also, it was the women that I was focusing on, and later it morphed to all of the first people of this area. So then I also had a computer, and I looked on the computer way back then and found out the Mohicans were the first people of the area, and found out really soon some awesome connections. Barbara at the Stockbridge Library, Lion Miles, I went to visit both of them. They filled me in and gave me a lot more information about who the first people were and how I could connect with them. And I kept seeing those dresses, those wind dresses in rawhide. I just couldn't get it out of my head that they were in rawhide. And so that project actually shifted and changed and became arms, just became long arms and hands that were prayer flags instead of dresses. The dresses did what they needed to do. We had our ceremony, and it morphed into something else. So what I did right away was I contacted the Mohican Nation to say, hey, this is so cool. I live where your ancestral territory is, and I would really love to connect with you, and I don't see your people here anymore. Let's bring your voices back. Let's bring you back in some sort of a way. So I met Steve Comer, who is the only Mohican in the ancestral lands that lived here at that time, and maybe that's true for now as well. He and I climbed Monument Mountain, which is a really special mountain in the area, and of course the Mohicans don't know, but they imagine that mountain was sacred to them as well. So Steve Comer and I walked up Monument Mountain, and we had a very nice, beautiful hike and a talk, and we also collected many stones. And I took those stones and I flew out to the Mohican Nation and stayed with Auntie Dot, who is a lovely Mohican elder, and and I took the stones, and they set me up at the Stockbridge Library and Historical Society, which was really amazing, and they've got a beautiful museum there. And I invited as many Mohicans as wanted to, and this is in Wisconsin, Stockbridge, Wisconsin, to come to talk to their ancestors. And so what they would do is they would sit and hold a stone. They would get to choose whatever stone they wanted to hold that Steve Comer and I found, and they would hold the stone, and I would say, it's simple. All you need to do now is imagine that you're talking to the Housatonic River and to your ancestral lands and to your ancestors. And almost every one of them started to cry. And it even, it brings up a lot of emotion for me still, and also for other people too when I tell them this story, and for the people who participated and also the people who viewed the project and heard the project. Were very, very touched. So I just was looking at my notes this morning from that time, which was actually in 2004, and I recorded 44 different recordings of individuals and groups of Mohicans. So there was like the preschools came in and sang a hello song, which was really cool, and they were holding the stones. But all the adults and young adults all held the stones and talked to their ancestors. I recorded them, edited it down to 3 hours, and then I brought it back here to the Berkshires, and with their permission I got written releases from each one, so they agreed to it. And I had an exhibition. It was part of a larger exhibition at the Norman Rockwell Museum in Stockbridge, and was able to set up a bench with speakers out to the Housatonic River and the Mohican ancestral land, and have those voices, their voices, talking back to the river and to the land for 6 months, 24/7, except for when it broke, because that was back in 2004. So once in a while humidity would get in and we would go and fix it. But it was pretty much 24/7 for 6 months, those Mohican voices coming back out to the land here.
2004, a yoga teacher from Kripalu, Jennifer Reis, had contacted the tribe. And I remember I was on the language and culture board at that moment. And when we came in for a meeting, I seen this, it was a printed picture of Jennifer, and this ideal that she had of coming to the reservation, and she had these Tibetan prayer flags, that she wanted people to write prayers on, and she was going to do some recordings and stuff like that. And I looked at it and I'm like, okay, who the heck is this woman, and what the heck is she asking us for? So I contacted her, and got a little bit more of a feel of what she was doing, and I asked her, what she would plan on doing afterwards and stuff, and she promised she was going to do the most respectful thing she could, and that turned out to be to return those things to us when she was done. But she had a exposition, or whatever you want to call it, a presentation at the Norman Rockwell Museum, for artists, and she wanted to do something that reflected the First Nations people here, because she always felt that she could feel, the original people here, like they would speak to her in ways and stuff. And she decided to do some researching, and she found his local historian by the name of Lion Miles, and realized that the Mohicans, there really are more. There is no such thing as the last of the Mohicans. They didn't die off. And so she contacted our tribe, and some of the elders out there put her up to come out and spend the time with them, and they got a lot of groups from the reservations come in and to participate, with writing the prayers on the prayer flags and doing the recordings. And many people, not including myself and my mentor, Many Hats, came and participated with it, and I got to meet her. We were supposed to come out for like the opening of this exposition at the Norman Rockwell Museum, because this was supposed to last all summer long. The flags were going to be up, and the prayers that we all put into the recording were to be rolled over and over and over all through the whole summer, 24 hours a day. But something that we really couldn't get the funding to come out and be a part of the opening, but we were able to come out the next year. And that was the time when Jennifer was going to return our prayers back to us, because I had asked her, would you, consider giving us these prayers back, because we're kind of worried where they'll end up, if something happens to you, where we trust you and everything, but where could these end up? We don't want to see them on eBay or something like that, and so we came out and did a small ceremony over at the mission house, and she returned our prayers, the prayer flags and the recordings and everything to us, and we just went around with Lion Miles. He showed us around to the mission house, to the burial grounds, to where the old village was down by the golf course and stuff, and it was just a great feeling. And Jennifer and I have been like great friends ever since. And through her, I've come out and done a lot of presentations from Kapalo, for Kapalo, just spreading the word, letting people know that there are Mohicans left. The original people of the Berkshires do survive, and we have a story. And a lot of people don't understand that story. They're just like, well, geez, I know there was Indians, but where'd they all go? Did they just move away or something? And a lot of people don't understand Native American culture, history, and heritage. So I come out here average about once a year for the last 13, 14 years, and doing presentations and explaining to people, about the Mohican people, our culture, our history, and just spreading the word, and I forever grateful for Jennifer, for doing that for us, because we were basically forgotten, and because of a fictitious book and a movie, we were written out of history as well, and so it's like kind of a way of coming back here all the time is working our way back into history and letting people know, no, we are still here. We did survive.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
Oh, you're welcome.